In moss and lakes where the treasures shine, the purple penny calls it's a gold mine. Mark and Catherine, they'll guide your way. With every coin there's a story to say. Journey through time, let's seize the day. Oh, the purple penny, a wonder awaits. From rarest finds to the latest estates. Join the adventure, don't miss your chance. In this world of coins, come join the dance. Latest RAM releases, news on the scene. Every week brings a new numismatic dream. Laughter and learning in every exchange. In this vibrant shop, things never seem strange. Together we'll explore.
Hello everyone, welcome to this week's video from the Purple Penny. My name's Mark. I own and run the Purple Penny along with my wife Catherine, who is sitting in today. Nice to have a surprise guest. She decided this morning on the way in that she'd sit in on the video today. The Purple Penny is a coin and banknote business owned by my wife and I. We buy and sell coins, banknotes and collectibles. We're open Wednesday to Saturday, and if you're wondering where you can buy our stuff from, you can buy it here from the shop in Mawson Lakes and also from thepurplepenny.com. Now, Sam has noticed that we had a musical intro. Thank you to the person who composed that for us. We've actually got a couple of songs. I just need to ask for permission to use the second one. We'll try the second one next week. We have some people out there who have far more talent than what I do to create musical things. And I do thank those people for providing those for us and allowing us to use them. So we'll just say a few hellos, and Catherine can perhaps wrap up the week last week. Hello Sam, hello Gwen, hello Ted, hello JJ, hello Peter, hello Sam again, Tom, GD and Ray. Thank you everyone for joining in today. So Catherine, have you got any news to share about the last week, about what went on in the shop or what's going on in the coin world?
Well, you've just thrown that at me just then, right that second, and I don't believe there was anything out of the ordinary that happened last week in the shop. It was just a standard, nice, everything flowed, no dramas week in the shop. Yep,
we're still selling a lot of silver bullion. I mean, we're getting short on that now. Gold and silver prices are still high. We're still getting a lot of communication about that. A lot of around 50s are coming and going. In terms of last week, I would agree with you completely. It was a very normal week. Things were back to not as frantic as they have been. We do have a new coin release coming up on the first Thursday of December, which is just listed there. The Royal Australian Mint is getting back on their normal release schedule. This was the normal time back in about 2022 when the baby sets were announced. We did have a bit of a conversation about this, about when everything went to pot with the release schedules, and it was when the Queen passed away in September 2023. So the baby sets are due out on Thursday week. We've got an uncirculated baby year set, made to demand, $55, and again we don't have the proof set. We've got a fine silver proof coin, a mintage of 15,000, release price of that is 140. Have you got any comments on how popular that 1 ounce baby coin has been for the last 2 years, and this will be the third year?
Probably from the point of view of grandmas and parents and that kind of thing, the feedback has been that they don't particularly like it. They want the proof set or stick with the unk set. So I reckon it's been a big fat fail.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. We have quite a few of the silver coins left over from the last 2 years, and the baby proof sets used to sell a lot better than what this silver 1 ounce coin did. I think the Mint's done a good job with the design and the packaging. It's the way the flip top box opens up. It's nicely presented, but I don't think it's what people necessarily want. So we're interesting to see if they do it again next year. A couple more hellos. Hello Adam, hello Stuart, and hello Mike. Thank you for joining in. Now we are opening a little late on Wednesday. Opening late on Wednesday. We'll be opening at 12 o'clock. So if you are here in Adelaide and you're planning on coming in, please don't come in at 10, come in at 12. And we'll be open then. Nothing serious, it's just have to open a little bit late. Now, in the news this week, thank you to Peter Andrews for compiling these graphs for us. Peter is the editor of Independent Coin News, an online coin magazine, probably the best coin magazine in Australia at the moment. Not probably, definitely. And he compiles these sales figures and supplies them to us from time to time. Sales figures for the 2025 red poppy wreath remembrance coin that was released a few weeks ago. You can see there that the price for the silver proof coin has dropped below $350 on eBay, so that price is continuing to decline, which is fairly normal for new release products. And the base metal C mint mark coin is selling at around about sort of $50, $45, things like that. So I don't know if Catherine, you have any observations on that particular coin about how it's going to perform longer term. How's your crystal ball today?
Yeah, no, it's a bit cloudy. I need to clean it. I think though we did have, like, they didn't sell out completely on the first day. We still had more, and people who sort of wandered into the shop during the first week, you know, and said, hey, have you got one? We were able to help them out with that, with the rolls, sorry, not with the silver, with the rolls and with the C mint marks. We were able to, you know, help most people that came in and said, oh, I couldn't get one, or I didn't win in the ballot, or...
Yep. I think if we look at how the this particular item here has performed, if I hold it the right way around,
no,
it's upside down.
Butthole's upside down.
This silver proof hasn't performed very well at all, and I think that's because the mintage now is such that everyone who really wants one can get one, but I do feel like the poppy wreath will probably hold at a higher price because it is a poppy. And it's a poppy, and poppies...
And it's a pretty coin.
Yeah, it is.
It's a very pretty coin.
Kudos to the mint for the colorization on that poppy wreath coin. It is very well done. It's a nice looking coin, and you all know by now that I don't really go in for that sort of thing, but it is an attractive thing. Now, in the news this week, we've got Axolotls on Banknotes. Thank you to Catherine for reading this article out to me in the paper. This is
my news.
Yeah, this is Catherine's news. Did you want to do the slide?
You do it.
Okay, so the axolotl is basically a salamander tadpole, but what makes them different is that they never actually grow up. They never lose their gills, and they never take to the land, so they're eternal tadpoles. And the native habitat of these is actually Mexico City, and there is a museum in Mexico City that is devoted to this particular creature, the axolotl, and it's called Axolotitlan, which is a play on Tenochtitlan, which was the old Aztec name of the capital of Mexico. And this particular female axolotl is called Gorda, and she's a resident of that museum. I'm not going to attempt to say that name again. And in 2021, she appeared on a 50 peso note that you can see at the left there. And that year, that particular note won the International Banknote Society's Note of the Year. As a consequence, more than 13 million Mexicans are hoarding one or more of those particular notes, thinking that they're either worth more than face value or that they think that they're pretty notes. Now, I tend to think it's that they think that they're pretty notes because a survey conducted of those people that are hoarding those notes found that only about 1 in 10 of them is hoarding other notes. So they really just like this note because it has this salamander on it, and they think that they're a pretty thing. And if you're wondering, these particular salamanders or axolotls are endangered, with much of their native habitat around Mexico City being destroyed as development happens. So thank you to Catherine for sharing that particular news story with me. It's always good to have those things shared with you. So if you've looked at your calendar, you probably realise today's the last Monday of the month. That means that it's question and answer day. We had some great questions a couple of weeks ago, and I've chosen to address one of those today. We also had a couple of new questions today, and depending on time, we'll just run through those questions and my answers to those questions. Thank you to the people who supplied the questions. It is much appreciated. And as always, if you do have any questions, you can supply them to me at any time via phone or email or Facebook message, and I'll do my best to address them. So the first question here was from Tanya, and she said, should ancient coins be housed in museums for all to see and preserved correctly, or the finder should keep them? So I've chosen to look at this from 3 points of view. One is, what are the arguments for keeping the coins in museums? What are the arguments for the finder keeping them? And is there some sort of middle ground that we can keep? Now, Australia doesn't have any coins, old coins buried in the ground, apart from coins found on shipwrecks in Western Australia, and there is a government program in place to preserve those. So what are some of the arguments for keeping coins in museums? Firstly, it allows you to keep coins in museums that can be accessed to the public. They can be seen publicly. Researchers can access them, so even if coins are not visible in public, researchers can often get access to the collection to view them. And they are available for educational opportunities. And when we were in the British Museum, we actually got to hold some ancient Greek and Roman coins. They had them on display in the British Museum in a little container, and a person would hand them out and you got to hold them. And that was, for a lot of people, would be a pretty unique experience to be able to hold on to a 2,000 or 3,000 year old coin. Presumably, museums can be relied upon to conserve and preserve coins properly so that they survive longer term. It provides certain countries with the opportunity to preserve their heritage and cultures. So a lot of countries have programs in place to prevent the acquisition of historical artefacts or removal from the country to preserve that country's heritage. So here in Australia, for example, the looting of shipwrecks off of Western Australia is prohibited. Only government institutions can get access to those, and that was to prevent those coins from being sent out of the country, from being damaged when they're being removed inappropriately from the wrecks and things like that. For many countries that perhaps were under the control of colonial masters, a lot of their cultural heritage was removed during colonial times, and today perhaps those countries don't have the best legal systems, I guess, and they are often subject to looting. So a lot of those countries have strong programs to prevent items from being removed or from the country, which is, it's quite understandable. The other reason, and this one is perhaps a little bit more esoteric, is that if coins are found with other collections, other items, if museums and other institutions keep them together, then researchers can look at the coins in the context of other items that they're found with. Whereas if the coins are just looted, then you cannot look at them in relation to other items from the same site. So that's some reasons for museums getting to keep things that are found. But of course, there is another side of the story. The government can't do all the finding, and a lot of the time governments rely on the public to look for things for them. So for example, the wrecks off of Western Australia, several of those were found by public efforts rather than by museums and things like that. And in countries like the UK and Scotland and Ireland, for example, there is a huge hobbyist base of metal detectors who find artefacts, and if they weren't doing that, a lot of these artefacts wouldn't be found because public institutions don't have the money or resources to have tens of thousands of people out there in the field metal detecting on the weekends. So what are some reasons that the finders get to keep the things? If allowed to keep or given fair reward for found items, then hunters are more likely to report those things to the government. If hunters are out there looking for things and they know they're going to lose their items and they're not going to get recompense for them, then they're not going to report those to the government, and of course those items will likely be lost forever, melted down, exported to other countries and things like that. So that's a bad thing. Who is going to spend their time looking responsibly for items if there's no reward? And the answer is no one. And museums cannot store everything, display everything, or research everything. And the example I like to give for that is the Australian War Memorial. A lot of people suggest that service medals received by service people during World War One and World War Two should be donated to the War Memorial when the families don't want them anymore. And that's, it's a worthy thought. But you're talking 400,000 sets of medals from World War One and over 3 million sets of medals during World War Two, and the War Memorial can't possibly display those ever. So most of those medals will just go into storage and never be seen again. So I'm of the opinion with those things, for example, that significant medals should be donated to the War Memorial because perhaps they will be on display one day, but hobbyists that collect medals often will research individuals who won those medals, and these aren't men that won bravery awards or have significant records, but they are of interest to hobbyists to look those things up, whereas a public institution isn't ever likely to do that.
A lot of the time they're just not on display. There's so many of them.
Yeah.
Anywhere, every museum.
Yeah, that's right. I have heard stories of, I don't know if this is true or not, of the War Memorial having drums full of World War II medals that are donated. They're just put into drums and all piled on top of each other because there's just too many to look at. And you do hear stories quite often of museums who have poorly catalogued collections and they lose track of things. So there is an argument for not everything going into museums, but I guess for some artefacts that is up to the public institutions and public authorities to decide, and not people like you and I and hobbyists. So it's a finely balanced thing. Now, is there a middle ground for this? And yeah, there is. And I think what the UK has done with their portable antiquities scheme is a great middle ground. So the middle ground says that all finds subject to a certain criteria must be reported and handed to the government. So for example, in the UK, anything over 300 years old that's made out of gold or silver, anything that's over 300 years old and there's more than 3 to 5 items, they all must be reported to the government. And then public institutions make a decision about whether those items are significant, and they can be offered to museums and public institutions for auction. And the finder is recompensed properly. So the person who's looking for this thing isn't handing over their items to the government thinking, well, I've just wasted my time for that. They actually will get some money for it when it's sold. Common items are recorded into databases so that they're there for researchers to look at: photos, weights, compositions, things like that. And then they're given back to the finder. So, that's a good system as far as I'm concerned. So, like most things, there's no hard and fast answer. There's always a compromise, and no one's ever going to be happy with every system, but I think it is imperative the governments do protect their cultural heritage. But I also think it's important that people who search for this sort of stuff are rewarded for when they find things. Otherwise they won't do it, or they'll do it inappropriately and sell the things on the black market. So thank you, Tanya, for asking that particular question. So the next question we had this morning was from someone who asked why coins are made out of different metals. And here in Australia, our circulating coinage is made from how many different metals? 2 at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so our dollar coins and $2 coins are aluminium bronze, and 5 cent through to 50 cent are copper nickel. So, there's some obvious reasons why they make coins out of different metals. Firstly, for durability. Copper, nickel and aluminium bronze are quite durable. They don't wear easily. And I've got a picture of a sovereign there. A sovereign is a 22 carat gold coin. It was a circulating coin. And the reason why they made it 22 carat rather than 24 carat is that 24 carat is too soft and doesn't wear well. So the English government made a decision there to circulate 22 carat coins because they wear better. Obviously, visually, much of new coinage is, if we think about the new banknotes and we think about the introduction of new coinage into New Zealand, much of the design thought put into those is to allow you to easily distinguish between the different denominations, both visually, obviously, and the colour of materials allows you to do that, but also with your fingers. So different edge reading, different edge finishes, braille on the coins and things like that. So different metals these days are chosen just because they look different, and it makes it easier for people to be able to pick out the different coins. In the UK, in about 2012, they replaced their, I think it's an aluminium bronze £1 coin with a bimetal coin, and that wasn't done for visual reasons. That was done because bimetal coins are much more difficult to counterfeit in a more authentic fashion. So there's another reason that a mint would choose a different metal. Sorry, I'll just pop the slide back up here. And I guess this is sort of getting into things that sort of more interest me. There are historical reasons why governments choose different metals. So there are government financial reasons. So in 2006 when New Zealand recoined, they changed both the size of their coins, and that helped them reduce the production cost of the coins. And they also reduced they also changed the composition of the coins. All of their coins now are nickel or copper plated steel, and they are much cheaper to make. They're also much more durable. So the New Zealand government chose to change their coins composition for financial reasons. It also allowed them to drop the 5-cent piece, which in New Zealand happened with barely a fuss, unlike the 1-cent piece being dropped in America a couple of weeks ago. Governments can do it to generate revenue, and in 1946 the Australian government debased their silver coins from 92.5% silver to 50% silver, and one of the driving reasons behind that was that the government could call in a florin and then basically mint 2 florins from the same amount of silver, and that extra florin of revenue could be used to repay debts, primarily war debts that Australia owed the USA because of what the USA did for Australia during World War II. And that sort of recoinage has happened for thousands of years. Often when Roman emperors changed, they would issue a recoinage either to perhaps increase the purity of silver in the coins, to say, hey, I'm a better emperor than the last dude, or to decrease the amount of silver in the coins because they needed more money. And English kings and queens did the same thing. They would reduce the size of their silver coins and gold coins and capitalise on the money. Another reason is prestige. Your country looks better than the next door neighbour's country if you issue a new series of gold coins or silver coins. And this isn't such a new thing. In 1966, of course, we saw the 1966 round 50-cent piece, which was 80% silver. And part of the reason why we retained a silver coin when we came to decimal currency is that there was a bit of hue and cry from the public saying that Australia going to base metal coinage made us look bad, and that, we should have a crown-sized silver coin just to maintain the prestige of the country. It turns out that was a crap idea because, of course, the 1966 50-cent piece was withdrawn from circulation within about 6 or 7 months, because the silver value outweighed the face value of the coin. So it just shows you that even as little as 60 years ago next year,
Coming up.
60 years ago next year, that dumb decisions like that could be made just on the basis of trying to make your country look better. Now, of course, the final reason why coins are made from different metal is because back in the day, coins were actually worth something. So we had gold sovereigns and gold nobles and various other gold coins, and the face value and the mass of the metal in the coin actually bore some relation to its purchasing power. But most gold coins were withdrawn from circulation in 1931, 32, 33, when the world went off of the gold standard, and most silver content from coins has been removed from World War II up until the mid-1960s. There were a few countries that had some silver coins up until the 70s, but these days there really are almost no circulating coins that have precious metal in them. So thank you to the person who asked that question. How are we going for time? Right, we'll do one more. If Catherine, you want to have a go at addressing this one, the pearls and stuff.
No, it's your thing.
No, it's my thing. All right. So thank you to the person who asked this question. Can I just talk about what the pearls and centre diamond are regards to George V portraits? So there's a nice portrait there of George V. George V was the king from 1911 to 1936, and he had a particular portrait on most Australian coins by Bertram McKennell, and it just so happens that on the obverse of these coins, this portrait happens to wear pretty much first at the King's Crown, and you can see a picture of the King's Crown there. It has a band, a lower band, an upper band, and in between the bands there are some larger gems and some smaller gems. Those smaller gems are called pearls. The larger gems are supposedly diamonds. The diamond in the middle is called the centre diamond. And those pearls and the diamonds wear off in a certain order. So I've just got some notes there on the picture on which order they wear off. So the centre diamond wears away first, and then the pearls just to the left of that wear away, and then the pearls to the right of that wear away, and then the pearls at the back of the crown are next, and then the pearls at the front of the crown are the last ones to wear away. And there is a grading guide on the ANDA website, which I believe was written by Klaus Ford, where he tries to match our adjectival grading system to how those pearls and diamonds wear away. If you Google ANDA grading guide, you'll be able to find a copy of that. Unfortunately, that doesn't work on the Kruger Gray portrait, which is found on the Parliament florin and the Centennial florin, and it also doesn't work for King George V, King George VI, or Queen Elizabeth, of course. It's just how that particular design wears weight. And like most things, it isn't a hard and fast rule, because that design of King George V is subject to strike weakness, and you shouldn't immediately assume just because elements of the design are missing that the coin itself is worn. So, you always have to be careful with these things. But that's what the pearls and diamonds are. So thank you for the person who asked that particular question. That's it. Have we got anything else? You got anything else you want to talk about?
Nope.
No. Thank you to Catherine for joining in. I know people are keen to have her on here more. The trouble is that often on Mondays she is swamped with mailing, especially if there's been a new release, because when we have a new release, often there's no time for her to do the mailing on Thursdays and Fridays, and then she's stuck doing it all on Monday morning. So I'd love to be able to plan to have her on here regularly, but the demands of the postal system do not allow it.
I do handle a lot of want lists, a lot of customer requests for decimal items.
Yep.
So I'm always working on people's lists. If anyone's looking for something in particular,
Yep.
feel free to send us your want list or your needs, particularly in decimal coins, because there's two of us and now a couple of young guys, and there's not enough hours in the day for everything. So if you are looking for something and you haven't seen it on the website, then we may still have it. Just ask.
Mondays and Tuesdays is when Catherine does most of that picking, because it is impossible to do it when we're open, because you can't spend enough time looking, because there's always the phone ringing or people coming in the front door, and she does do a great job of picking out those lists. So if you are interested in that, then you can supply those to her, and if you're interested in pre-decimal coins or world coins, you can supply those to her as well, and she'll just give them to me. So we're happy to look for anything. And the same with banknotes. We do, it's only a very small fraction of the inventory in this shop is up on our website, and only a very small fraction of that is out the front of the shop. So we do have a lot of stuff, hidden away out the back in boxes and folders, and we're always happy to look for people. If you do come into the shop and you feel like we should have something else on display, then by all means say something, because Catherine does enjoy setting up the displays out the front and reorganising them and things like that. So we're always trying to put out there what people want to see. There is a question there about when the next coin show will be in Adelaide. So it's usually the first weekend in October, but the person who does the majority of the organisation, it's really up to him about whether he wants to do it again. If he doesn't want to do it again, then maybe there'll be a different time, or it won't happen. We're not really sure. I guess we'll find out.
We've only just had this year. It's just
we'll probably know
very too soon.
We'll probably know sort of in March or April next year about when or if it's going to happen. So just stay tuned, and we'll let you know as soon as we know something. thank you everyone for watching. Thank you everyone who comes in the shop. Thank you everyone who brings up the phone and sends us emails and messages. It's always appreciated. Thank you for everyone who interacts with us on Facebook. We do rely on that so that we know that we're doing the right thing. If there's anything you'd like us to talk about, send us a message. And I guess that's it for this week. So it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from her. We'll see you next time. Bye.